Michael Jordan just said something about Anthony Edwards, and honestly, it is one of the most powerful things any legend in basketball has said about a young player in a very long time. And when you hear exactly what he said, word for word, you are going to understand why this moment is so much bigger than people are giving it credit for. Because this is not just some random compliment from some random person. This is Michael Jordan, the greatest player to ever step foot on a basketball court. A man who does not just go around handing out praise to anybody. A man who is very selective with his words and very selective with who he gives his time and his attention to. And right now, in the year 2026, Michael Jordan is watching Anthony Edwards very closely, and what he had to say should have every single basketball fan paying attention. Now, to fully understand this story, we have to go back just a little bit. There is a man by the name of Ahmad Rashad who has been around the game for decades. He has done interviews with the biggest names in the sport, but more importantly, he has been a very close and personal friend of Michael Jordan for a very, very long time. These two have a deep friendship that goes back many, many years. So when Ahmad sits down with Anthony Edwards for an interview, it is not just a regular media interview. There is a personal connection there. There is a bridge between Anthony Edwards and Michael Jordan, and that bridge is Ahmad Rashad. A few months ago, a story came out that revealed something really interesting. It came out that Anthony Edwards had actually been in contact with Michael Jordan, not just casually, not just a quick handshake at an event. We are talking about real basketball conversations, conversations about the game, conversations about how to improve, how to get better, how to handle situations on the court. And specifically, it was about Anthony Edwards working on his post game, his ability to get to his spots on the court, and how to be more effective when defenders are guarding him closely. At the time, that story came out around September 29th of last year, and in that article that was published on ESPN, Anthony Edwards spoke about it. He said, and I want to be clear about his exact words, he said that Michael Jordan helped him with getting to his spots, pulling up, and shooting over the defender. Now think about that for a second. A 24-year-old player getting direct advice from the greatest scorer in basketball history on how to shoot over defenders and get to the right spots on the floor. That is not something that happens every day. That is not something that happens every year. That is a once-in-a-generation type of connection, and Anthony Edwards has it. But here is where it gets even more interesting. Back when that story first came out, it was not completely clear whether Anthony Edwards and Michael Jordan had direct contact, or whether there was a person in between who was carrying messages back and forth. And now, after this recent interview that Ahmad Rashad did with Anthony Edwards, things are becoming a lot clearer. It looks very much like Ahmad Rashad himself is that connection. He is the one who speaks to Michael Jordan, and he is the one who then passes on what Jordan says to Anthony Edwards. And in this recent interview, he did exactly that. Ahmad Rashad looked at Anthony Edwards during the interview and said something along the lines of, "I recently spoke to Michael Jordan about you, and this is what he said." And then he shared the message. Now I want you to really sit with this for a moment before I tell you exactly what Jordan said. Because the fact that Ahmad Rashad is picking up the phone and calling Michael Jordan and having full conversations about Anthony Edwards tells you everything you need to know. Michael Jordan is engaged, he is watching, he is paying attention, and he cares about what Anthony Edwards is doing in this league. That alone is a massive statement. So what did Michael Jordan actually say? Ahmad Rashad relayed the message and said that Michael Jordan told him that he loves Anthony Edwards' passion, not just on one end of the floor, on both ends, on offense and on defense. Michael Jordan said he loves the passion that Anthony Edwards brings on both sides of the ball. And then Jordan said something that sounds simple but means a whole lot when it is coming from him. He said Anthony Edwards needs to continue improving his game, keep accepting challenges, and keep thriving in those challenges. And then Jordan added that he knows Anthony Edwards is the type of person who has the determination to do all of that. Now let me tell you why those words matter so much. Michael Jordan does not just throw around the word determination. That word is personal to him. His entire career was built on determination. Everything he achieved in basketball came from a place of refusing to stop, refusing to settle, refusing to be satisfied with where he was. When Jordan says that he sees that determination in Anthony Edwards, that is him saying this kid has the thing inside of him that champions are made of. That is not a small thing to say. That is Michael Jordan putting a stamp of approval on Anthony Edwards as a competitor. And Anthony Edwards' reaction to all of this was just perfect. When Ahmad Rashad finished sharing the message, Edwards smiled and said something like, "That is pretty cool." He said, "For sure it is cool to have that guy be your fan." And then he said something that really showed just how real this connection is. He said, "Oh yeah, that is my man. He came to the gym, to my pre-draft workout, before I even got drafted to Minnesota." Think about that. Before Anthony Edwards was even in the NBA, before he played a single professional game, Michael Jordan was already at his pre-draft workout. Jordan was already watching. He already saw something special in this kid back then, and years later he is still watching, still supporting, still sending messages of encouragement. Now let us talk about what Anthony Edwards has actually done on the basketball court this season, because the numbers are absolutely wild. Right now, in the 2025 to 2026 season, Anthony Edwards is 24 years old. He has played in every single game this season, all 53 out of 53 games. He is out there every single night. He is not missing time. He is not sitting out. He is just playing basketball at the highest level, night in and night out. And what he is doing statistically is something that we have not seen from him before. He is averaging 29.5 points per game. Let that number sit with you. 29.5 points per game. He is doing that in about 35.5 minutes of playing time per game. He is attempting over 20 shots per game. And here's the really crazy part. He is shooting the ball at 49.5% from the field. That is almost 50%. That is an absolutely huge jump for him. Before this season, the best field goal percentage he had ever shot in a full season was 45.9%. Now he is at nearly 50%. That is a 5% jump in shooting efficiency, and that is not a small thing. That is massive. And it's not just the field goal percentage either. He is also shooting over 40% from three-point range. He is at 40.6% from behind the arc. So not only is he shooting more efficiently from inside the three-point line, he is also knocking down threes at a very high rate. This kid is just making every area of his game better at the same time. And that is happening while he's playing more games, playing harder, and doing more for his team on a nightly basis.
Now, you might be wondering, what changed? What is different about Anthony Edwards this year compared to last year? And honestly, I think a big part of the answer goes right back to those conversations with Michael Jordan. Because last season, Edwards was shooting around 44.7% from the field. This season, as I said, he is at 49.5%. That is a 5-point jump in his shooting percentage. And from what he said about what Jordan taught him, it makes complete sense why his efficiency has gone up so much. Jordan taught him about getting to the right spots on the floor, about pulling up and taking the right shot at the right time, about how to operate when defenders are doubling you or trying to cut you off. And there was one specific tip that Anthony Edwards shared from those conversations with Jordan that I think is really fascinating from a basketball standpoint. Edwards talked about how in the post, most players use their backside, their lower body, to create space and lean on a defender. But Michael Jordan told him to use the upper part of his back, the top of his back, to push into defenders. Edwards actually pointed to his right shoulder when he was talking about it, and Jordan told him that doing it that way gives you more control, more balance, and better positioning to make your move and get your shot off. That is such a specific, detailed piece of basketball knowledge. That is the kind of thing you only learn from someone who has spent years studying and perfecting every single detail of the game. And the fact that Anthony Edwards took that tip and actually applied it and is now shooting 49.5% from the field shows you that he is not just listening, he is actually putting in the work to make it happen. Now, beyond all of these stats and all of these improvements, there is something about Anthony Edwards that I really want to highlight because I think it does not get talked about enough, and that is his availability, his ability to play in games. Because in this NBA, staying healthy and being on the court is one of the most important things a player can do for his team, and Anthony Edwards is remarkable in this area. In his 6 seasons in the NBA, and I'm only counting his first 5 full seasons because this 6th one is still going on, he has never played less than 70 games in a season, not once. Let me give you the numbers so you can really see what I'm talking about. In his first full seasons, he played 72 games, then 72 again, then 79, then 79 again, and now this season he has already played 53 out of 53 games, meaning he has not missed a single contest. That kind of availability is extremely rare in today's NBA. When you have a player who plays at the level of Anthony Edwards, with the intensity that he plays at on both ends of the floor, the fact that he is also staying healthy and playing in basically every game is a gift for the Minnesota Timberwolves and for all basketball fans. Now, this brings me to a conversation that has been going around in the basketball world recently, and I have to bring it up because it is important. LeBron James went on his podcast and made some comments about how hard it is to play 80 or 82 games in the modern NBA. He talked about how the game today is more physically demanding, how players run more, how it is essentially like running marathons, and how that makes it much harder to stay healthy and play in every game. And look, I understand LeBron has had an incredible career, and he has done things that nobody else has ever done. But when Anthony Edwards is out there playing all 53 games this season, when he has never played less than 70 games in a full season, it is really, really hard to listen to those comments and take them seriously. You have NBA legends, you have former NBA players, people who actually played the game at the highest level, laughing at what LeBron said. You have guys like Byron Scott commenting on it and basically saying the same thing, that it is not something that makes a lot of sense to say. And honestly, when you look at what Anthony Edwards is doing this season, the way he is playing, the minutes he is putting in, the aggression he brings every single night, it just makes those comments even harder to understand. Anthony Edwards is not making excuses. He is not talking about how hard the schedule is. He is just going out there and playing every game and being great. Let us now get into what Bruce Bowen had to say, because Bruce Bowen is a guy worth listening to when it comes to conversations about defense, competition, and what it takes to win in the NBA. Bowen was one of the best defenders the league has ever seen. He was a champion. He guarded the best players in the world for years, and what he had to say about Anthony Edwards was really thoughtful and really worth paying attention to.
Bowen talked about how Minnesota, the Timberwolves, do not get nearly enough credit for what they have been building these last couple of years. He acknowledged that they have been right there, knocking on the door, coming very close to the next level and getting better every single season. And then he got into what makes Anthony Edwards so uniquely special as a player and as a competitor. He said something that really stood out to me. He said that Anthony Edwards has already faced and beaten every single one of his heroes. Every player that Edwards looked up to coming into the league, every big name, every superstar that he had to go up against, Edwards has had something for all of them. He has beaten them all at least once. He goes right at you. He does not back down from anybody. Bowen also talked about the growth of the Timberwolves as a team without Karl Anthony Towns in the picture. And he said something really interesting about how the team has actually become a different kind of team, and in some ways a more focused and more dangerous team because of the way Edwards has taken over and made that team his own. And then Bowen brought up something that happened this season with Edwards and his coach, a moment where there was some tension because Edwards wanted the ball and wanted to take over the game, and some people made a big deal out of it. But Bowen put it in a really smart way. He compared it to Michael Jordan and the situation with Scottie Pippen and how Phil Jackson would challenge Jordan about whether he was getting the ball to the open man. And at first, Jordan would resist because Jordan knew what he could do. But eventually, Jordan learned how to balance being the best player on the floor while also trusting his teammates at the right moments. And Bowen is saying that Anthony Edwards is going through that exact same process right now. He is learning when to take over and when to trust the people around him. And that comparison to Michael Jordan, coming from Bruce Bowen, a guy who played in that era and saw those things firsthand, is not something to be taken lightly. Bowen is essentially saying that the qualities that made Jordan so dangerous, the fire, the refusal to back down, the ability to rally a team, those are the same qualities he sees in Anthony Edwards right now. That is a very, very high level of respect from a person who knows exactly what greatness in basketball looks like. Bowen also brought up something that shows just how far Anthony Edwards has come in the eyes of the people he used to look up to. He mentioned LeBron James at the All-Star game, how LeBron watched Edwards and said, "Hey, I love what I see in him. I want him to keep going." And Bowen made a great point. He said when the people that you had on your target list, the people you were trying to take down, start giving you compliments and telling you to keep going, that is when you know things have shifted. That is when you know the league is starting to see you differently. That is when the respect from the biggest names starts coming your way, and it means you are doing something real. Now, I want to spend a little time talking about where Anthony Edwards stands in the bigger picture of the NBA right now, because I think this is a conversation that more people need to be having. Because for years, the conversation around the NBA has been so focused on LeBron James and where he stands and what he is doing and whether he is going to retire. And that is fine. LeBron has earned every bit of attention he has gotten over his career. But a lot of people have been saying, what happens when LeBron is gone? What happens to the league? What happens to the ratings and the interest in the conversation? And my answer to that is simple. Anthony Edwards happens. This kid is exactly what the NBA needs right now. He is 24 years old, and he is already doing things on the court that are turning heads all over the basketball world. He is scoring nearly 30 points a game. He is shooting more efficiently than he ever has. He is playing in every game. He is fearless, he is entertaining, he talks trash, he is competitive, he brings energy, he brings life to every game he plays in, and people love watching him play. Not because he is chasing records or talking about legacy all the time. People love watching him because he just plays basketball with everything he has every single time he steps on the floor. And that authenticity, that natural love for competing, is something that is very rare. A lot of players in the NBA are great players, but there are not many players who have that thing, that special quality, where people just want to watch them no matter what. Anthony Edwards has that. He has always had it.
Even when he was just coming into the league, before the big stats, before the deep playoff runs, there was something about him that made you want to keep watching. And now that the skills are catching up to the personality, now that the game is becoming as big as the attitude, it is a really exciting thing to watch unfold. And speaking of the future, let me also say a few words about where Anthony Edwards might end up in terms of his career and his situation with the Minnesota Timberwolves, because this is something worth talking about. Minnesota is not the biggest market in the NBA. They are not in New York, they are not in Los Angeles, they are not in Miami. They are a mid-market team in a city that does not get nearly as much national attention as some of the other NBA cities. And there are people out there who feel that a player of Anthony Edwards' level might eventually be better served by going to a bigger market, where he can get more exposure, more attention, and potentially more opportunities to win. And I get that argument. I understand why people think that way. A player like Edwards, with his personality and his skill level, could absolutely be a superstar in any market in the country. He would sell out every arena, he would be on every commercial, he would be the face of the league everywhere he went. But here is my take on it. If the Timberwolves are doing right by Anthony Edwards, if they are putting real pieces around him, if they are building a team that gives him a legitimate chance to compete for a championship every single year, then there is no reason for him to leave. Loyalty matters. Staying with the team that believed in you, that drafted you, that built around you, that matters, and it means something. Right now, from what I can see, Minnesota is doing everything they can to build a winning team around Anthony Edwards. They are taking it seriously. They are making moves. They are trying to give him what he needs to compete at the highest level. And as long as that is the case, I think Edwards should stay and try to win it all in Minnesota. Because winning a championship in Minnesota, in a city that has been waiting for that kind of success for so long, would mean so much more than winning a ring somewhere else. It would make him a legend there forever. But if things change, if the team stops putting in the effort to build a championship roster, if the situation stops making sense, then that conversation about a bigger market becomes a lot more real. Simple as that. If the team is giving you everything you need to win, you stay. If they are not, you find somewhere else that will. But right now, things look good for Anthony Edwards and the Timberwolves. And when you put all of this together, when you look at the Michael Jordan connection, the advice that was passed along, the improvements in Anthony Edwards' game, the stats he is putting up this season, the way Bruce Bowen talks about him, the way Ahmad Rashad speaks about him, the way even LeBron James is out there giving him respect, it all tells one very clear story. Anthony Edwards is not just a great young player, he is becoming one of the best players in the entire NBA, period. And at 24 years old, he is still in the early chapters of what could be one of the greatest careers in basketball history. Michael Jordan does not watch just anybody. Michael Jordan does not send messages of encouragement to just anybody. Michael Jordan does not show up to pre-draft workouts for just anybody. The fact that he has been in Anthony Edwards' corner, in whatever capacity that has been, whether direct or through Ahmad Rashad, tells you that Jordan sees something in this kid that he recognizes, something that reminds him of himself, the fire, the passion, the determination, the refusal to back down, the will to be the best. Michael Jordan sees all of that in Anthony Edwards, and that is the highest possible stamp of approval any young basketball player could ever receive. So if you are not watching Anthony Edwards closely right now, you need to be, because what he is doing this season is special, and what he is going to continue doing over the next 10 or 15 years in this league is going to be something we will all be talking about for a very long time. He is the present and the future of this sport, and it is a beautiful thing to watch. That's all for today. Make sure you drop your thoughts down below in the comments. Let me know what you think about Anthony Edwards and Michael Jordan. Like the video, share it with somebody who loves basketball, and subscribe so you don't miss anything. I will see you in the next one.